We have some...
we have to make you shut up.
We have some champagne to celebrate. So let's open this up. It's fancy champagne.
Pain. What is this?
It's so you can reseal it.
Give me that.
Yep.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So we don't have to drink the whole thing at once.
Right.
How do you open this?
Well, you open it, and then you take that off.
You go like this, right?
Yeah,
Twist
you do. This is like a Star Wars helmet.
Put it on.
Put it on.
Ready? Let's do it.
Oh my god.
Oh shit. I'm gonna go get cups. I never popped champagne before.
Certainly haven't.
We're back. We got cups, right?
That's what you want to call that. This is gonna bubble hard
Yeah,
because of
turn
the ice cube. Well, I'm saying, just the ice cube comment still stands.
It's still true.
The shit I said
There
is
you go.
true. The bottom of my glass is V cold, on account of the ice cube having sat upon it for some time.
Vehicle.
It's short for very.
It's millennial for very. Look, this is the stopper.
I know. I seen it.
We're gonna try it.
Yeah, put her in there.
It's a beautiful thing.
That really is a beautiful thing. The amount of times that I've wished that existed in my life, now it does. No. Like I said, I love champagne.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Is that glass?
No, it's from the dollar store.
Oh, good. It's as the children have said in the past. It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
It's true.
We popped a bottle of champagne for this. I mean, it can't be
That's
awkward
it.
anymore.
It's celebration, really.
The just blew all the awkward out of the room. And now we're just normal plus champagne. So it's like normal plus one. We're doing pretty good.
We got 3 people here.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? What are we going to talk about?
Well,
We're going to talk about music?
yes.
We're going to talk about...
Inevitably, that will probably lead to life in the universe.
Life, the universe as a whole.
That's just us.
And our place in it.
Nothing factual whatsoever. We're purely opinion-based.
Speculatory.
We have no interest in you challenging our thoughts.
No.
That's not true.
No. We love your comments and questions. Hit the subscribe button. So we want to have some guests on to interview and talk about music and their experiences with music and life in music. But we don't have any guests today. And this is our first one, so you're going to meet us.
Nice to meet me.
I'm Steve.
I'm Ethan.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So let's do a back and forth, okay?
All right.
So here we are. In the future, we'll bring somebody else in, to,
Yeah.
you know, because you're going to learn about us today, and then in the future, you're going to have to learn about somebody else. There's only so much we can tell you about us. So, Steve, let me ask you, when did it start? Why did you end up playing the guitar? How did it happen?
Well, I first got exposure to a guitar because my dad had a guitar. Actually, it's that guitar right there that you can't see.
The Vega?
The Vega. I'm going to grab the Vega.
You grab the Vega. The Vega's a cool guitar.
Move this over.
Very cool guitar.
Totally
You're gonna
not
wanna
just
see
stalling right now.
You're going to want to see this. Unless, of course, you're listening to us in podcast.
Then you
format.
can't.
See
In
it
which
anyway.
case, go to our YouTube channel
And hit subscribe.
and hit subscribe and like and comment and all the fun things. Share it with your friends. This is the Vega. This is the reason I found interest in guitar. This was my dad's guitar. And it was always around his house, sitting in the case, and we weren't supposed to touch it. But of course, when he wasn't home, what did we do?
You touched it.
We touched it.
Good.
And there was a thing in the case that I didn't know what it was for. My dad told me it was for adjusting the truss rod up here. And he said, don't do it, you're going to break my guitar. So when he wasn't home, what did I do? I adjusted his truss rod. So that got me snowballed into how I got into repairing guitars and everything. And the guitar itself got me into playing guitar.
You could talk about the guitar, though. It's a neck through, right?
Yeah. So it's a neck through.
It's pretty cool, man. I don't think I've seen another guitar quite like it.
The interesting thing is Vega, which is the company that made this guitar, is still around, and they're owned by Martin, the guitar company, and they make banjo strings exclusively now.
I was gonna say they do banjo stuff now. So not even banjos, just the strings.
Just the strings. They have Vega banjo strings. They have the little star on it like this logo does. And actually, Martin made solid body electric guitars in the 70s that looked shockingly similar to this one. So I wonder where they got the inspiration from.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Quite
anyway.
possibly an obvious ripoff, but you know, Martin does their thing in a completely different realm now, and they do it
I'm
pretty
not
well.
saying Martin copied Vega. I have no idea. But, I have the Vega, and it's cool.
That is cool. It's a really neat guitar.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting. It's a very similar story for me. Is that my dad plays, and that was where it came from. Mostly in the format of like church worship music, was where I would see him play. The coolest times I think were like he was a youth pastor, and so the trips that we would take with the group, and we'd go camping and that kind of thing. This sort of like the stereotypical like kumbaya around the campfire, except that wasn't the song. But it was cool to see people have a reaction to it, to something that I was more or less used to.
Yeah.
And so then I sort of discovered that there's a lot of power in music.
And this is something I actually wanted to talk about that I'm glad just came up organically. Was I think you came into music more where music is a way of storytelling and connecting with people, like in community kind of way.
It was very much a community.
Yeah. Where for me it was like the guitar is really great. Like I thought the guitar was cool, and I just really liked the guitar. It wasn't so much about songs. It wasn't about lyrics and being able to connect with people. I just wanted to play the guitar. So I think that's like, I kind of envy the storytelling and the community side of it.
Yeah.
That I kind of missed out on.
Yeah, and I think in my early exposure it was less storytelling and more like context and theme, but I think that is somewhat similar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just seeing...
Still like a group.
Yeah, the communal aspect of it is definitely different between you and I.
Yeah.
Because I saw the guitar as sort of like a means to that.
Yeah.
Instead of like, this thing is really cool.
Yeah.
And it, if we're being honest too, I was a teenager and my sister was like, you learn guitar, girls will like you. And I was like...
No one told me that.
Mom told me I'm not going to be tall enough for basketball, so this is a good second option, and I'm glad I've taken that road. But
my dad told me I had drummer hands when I was younger.
Look at you and your drummer hands.
My fingers were too short to play the guitar.
Come on, Dad.
Look at me now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have your guitar.
Yeah. I got you, Dad. Try that one on for size. Try these drummer hands on for size.
I can't play drums for anything.
No, you know what happens to me when I try to play drums?
Everyone runs away?
Well, they should. If they stay, I'm worried about them. No, I can't separate my top limbs from my low limbs. Like, I'll be like, I can do this, but I just can't separate them and make them work independently from each other. Just like my right leg wants to do what my right arm's doing, left leg wants to do what my left arm's doing, and that doesn't work for drums. Nope.
No. It's
a pretty poor
setup. You want to be a bad drummer, yeah.
Well, who wants to be a bad drummer? I mean, every drummer starts out bad, but who actually aspires to be a bad
That's my
one?
goal in life.
I would love to be a bad drummer.
There's
not a big
like
market
funky,
for him.
But
No, not like bad, but like, that guy's bad. That was bad. It was a bad experience. Well, so that's cool. So we figured out where we started. Now, when did it sort of like... When did you realize it was important? Like, as a part of your life where you're like, I'm never going to let this go.
I don't know. It just kind of... I think it was more organic than rather than like a definitive moment where it was like a decision. Because before I played guitar, I was painting and I was drawing.
Nice.
I always had some kind of artistic hobby.
I can't do either of those things.
Well, Me neither. That's why I started playing. I always wanted to be a cartoonist. I wanted to do comic strips and all this stuff.
Oh, shoot. You'd make really funny ones.
I tried making some that's like dad related.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
No, they're pretty good.
Just
all right.
say it.
We'll have to get into that a little later.
That's the next
some other time.
And then I got into painting, like Bob Ross style landscape painting.
Oh, good. Yeah. Happy little trees.
Happy trees and clouds and all that stuff. It's just too messy. It's really messy cleaning oil paints. And
not cheap either, right? I mean,
not cheap.
It's not like you I gotta go get another $5 set of Ernie balls. Man. It's like, no, I gotta go get some
brushes
paint.
are expensive, and when you're a kid, it's like, Dad, can you buy me these brushes?
Right.
That's not nice. But I feel like the visual art kind of ran its course. I kind of was at a point where I didn't feel like I was expressing myself. And that's kind of around when I started playing guitar. And not long after I started playing guitar, I played in bands. That happened pretty quickly.
Did that sort of start to open you up to that sort of communal aspect of like the sharing the music with your friends that you're making music with, and then the shows and all that?
Yeah, definitely the playing live was so important. Because back in the day, we played shows all the time, and they were terrible shows. It was like at our friends' parents' basements. House,
I've played that kind of show.
Or the high school that let us, for some reason, put on shows.
I don't know why they did, but I was at least 4 of those shows.
They were good. And but we would get all the local bands, all our friends that were in bands together and play these shows, and just the camaraderie and the just the fun
energy.
Aspect. The energy, that was a big part of it.
That was definitely a big shift for me. I think that having been like homeschooled, and the majority of my friends and community being either through the church or literally on the same block as me, like my world just went from that to so much bigger when I joined a band that had other places for me to go play, and I remember playing like CN's Gate Palace as a show venue for whatever reason, because somebody's parents were involved with the place, and it's
the
just
connections
like,
are so.
And you know
so
what I
vague.
think it is? You know what I think it is? I thought about this like 2 days ago. It was MySpace.
Yeah.
That's what did it.
Dude,
MySpace built a grassroots music community that was founded and run by teenagers.
By the kids in the bands. It was so.
Renting out community centers for rock shows.
It was the perfect medium for that kind of thing.
And it was sloppy as all heck, but the kids, man, we used that
did it
for everything it was worth.
Yeah, man.
It really was such a big part of the scene. That's where the
so
scene kids came from. Like,
that's right.
The MySpace angles and the hair swoops
and the gigs.
And the gigs.
That definitely changed when, like, around 2008-ish, when, like, I got a Facebook and, like, Facebook started to kind of follow, or MySpace started to fall away.
Yeah.
When our parents got Facebooks, I think that's kind of when the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Kind of changed. It was MySpace was like the uncharted territory. It was like
it was
hey,
like
kids,
OG
here's the
social
internet.
media,
and like your parents aren't here. And, like,
yeah. Oh my goodness, I know.
Man, it was.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
And you can have the band pages that were just perfect. The way it was laid out was simple.
You basically had a band website that you were able to create and edit for free, which is not something you can do anymore. Like, you can do the Facebook thing, but it's not the same.
No.
And the algorithms get in there, and they mess everything up, and your exposure drops, and
then no one finds it.
And nobody finds it, exactly. Yeah. But that was huge. And so, like, for me, my world just got bigger. I started meeting people that were different. They thought differently than me.
Like me.
They acted differently than me. They dressed differently than me. So I swiftly got a studded belt and got small band T-shirts with, like, crazy metal lettering on them. But yeah, for sure. But that was big for me, and I think that's when I realized, like, that I had some power in music to, like, actually take some responsibility in my own life, to understand that, like, you can access community elsewhere other than where you were told that you can and should. I got some flack for it too. I mean, like, when I came back from an audition to be a screamer in a metal band, my sister had let slip that that's where I was, and my folks were sitting on the couch waiting for me, and they were very concerned because they felt that the devil was certainly involved.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. And they felt disturbed when they heard music like that. But I went ahead and made it. I made a lot of it and screamed my head off for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I found the energy and the catharsis and like all of that came with it. And I think at that point, it just, me and music became sort of fused and just, it's not going to let go and neither am I kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's it, man. The gigs.
The gigs
change you.
They really do. Because I think we both played a lot of gigs before we knew each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if we hadn't, then we would have been at each other's gigs more, you know?
That's right.
Right?
That's right. That's why you didn't come to my gig.
Right. Well, I didn't know you had one, man. But yeah, that was a wild time.
And I just went to the drummer from my high school band. I just went to his wedding a couple days ago, and we rehearsed at his house every day after school. Man, he lived right down the street from me, so we'd get done school and go to his house and jam. And I had to give his dad a hug and thank his dad because I was like, you don't know how important that time was and is to me now.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, like we made some terrible noise in his basement.
Oh yeah.
And he built a drum riser for us, and like they let us do whatever. We set up a studio in there. We had the mixer and everything upstairs and ran the cables down the air vents down into the basement to mic everything.
Nice.
Recorded 2 albums like that.
Yeah, thanks, friend's dad, for letting us throw cables through your air vents. Like,
geez,
what are you doing?
man,
That's awesome.
That's some.
See, didn't have access to like my friend's house. We just my dad was like, yeah, you can use that old building that the church owns.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
We're not going to get into the extracurriculars that happened there, but we did a lot of band practicing. And we were able to be loud and metal and like really get like gig ready in a space.
Being loud is so important.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And that at that stage of life when you're like this like swirling ball of energy that you don't know what the hell to do with, you got to have something.
Yeah.
And so, man, I didn't even think about the gratitude that I should have for the old pops for letting us get in there and do that. We took
because they could have just as easily
full
said
advantage
no,
of that.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's true. And some days he did, but like depending on if there was something going on in the other building, it's like we'd rather not. It was kind of like semi hush hush.
Yeah. Because they didn't want people to know you were doing that kind of music in there.
Yes, certain people that would be an issue, and the rest of it was kind of like. Maybe don't let everybody know that we're making an exception. You know, we don't usually let somebody's kid have the keys to a church building.
That's right.
You know, so yeah. Well, cool. That's a good sort of background.
Yeah.
You know, and that's this sort of like the swirling like unknown, and then the music sticks, and you're like, okay, well now me and music are one.
It's definitely a swirling unknown. Just like you're just like getting intertwined. It definitely, for me, and I guess for you, wasn't you have to do music or not do music. It wasn't a decision. Right. It was just, this is great, and it's just going to keep happening.
It was very much an exploration.
Yeah.
You know?
Just learning a new way to get your feelings out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like learn the things about other people and learn from other people. That's always the best way to hone your craft, is to get in a room with somebody who does something similar.
Yeah.
Or not similar, but definitely better.
Definitely better.
If they do it better, go hang out with them. Yeah. That's key.
Mm-hmm. So what are you up to these days?
These
days, now that
days,
we know that music is here to stay.
It's here to stay. And you know, I think these days the battle is more like, how much music can I realistically do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but these days it's in sort of the hobby realm, but the necessary. Yeah. So it's like, it's both, music is my side thing, but it's also a necessary thing for my own personal balance.
Yeah, it's indispensable.
My mental health and all of these things. It's indispensable for sure. So I have to be doing it in some way, with some regularity. But, you know, we're obviously working on some side projects. We could probably delve into that stuff.
Are we?
But I also am recording my first full-length album as like a singer-songwriter. And we're probably about 85% done the recording process. And next steps are going to be crowdfunding via Kickstarter or something like that. And actually getting physical, because I am going to print physical CDs, people.
I'm super excited about that.
Going to do that. I don't know exactly how many, but I'm going to do that because I love that. And you can't autograph a streaming song.
You need the physical. You know? That's the one thing I really miss about back in the day. I don't want to get back in the day. But burning your own band CD dude, it was like...
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
For sure. Yeah, and we're in a digital age, and there's no getting around that. And it's all streaming, and you don't make money on that. But, yeah, so I'm making a record. I'm recording it with Kyle Swartzwelder. He's out in Glenside, and he's a musician.
Songwriter in his own right.
Oh, my goodness gracious, yeah. He's basically learned how to record and become a producer, and he does mastering. He does the whole nine, and he basically started with his stuff. And
he recorded his album, the one that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah. He's pretty much recorded all his stuff. He's utilized some other studios in the area. He's done some stuff at Morning Star Studios, which is I think out in like Morning Star. Really nice space. I forget where it is right now, but yeah, his albums are great, and he's really honed the skills, and he's going to be getting into doing the studio thing full time starting next year. But yeah, he's actually, I mean, credit the influences. Like, I didn't think folk music was cool I mean, I was so into metal, you know, but like when I went away to college for a year, I couldn't play metal in a band. So it's, you know, it was like shortly before that I started really playing the acoustic guitar and started writing songs. And then from there it really took off. Being in the woods and having an acoustic guitar, and not a lot of time, but sometimes you need to make time, and then you start writing, and that was really helpful. But Kyle, I'll never ever forget, and it's one of my favorite songs ever, but he's got this song called Home in Yonder Field. And he would play it at every open mic, and I was just like, after like the 5th or 6th time, because I was going pretty regularly, I was like, that just might be one of the best songs I've ever heard.
And it comes in with the pedal steel right away? Right? Is that one?
No, this one's acoustic. It opens up just acoustic and voice for a little bit. But I mean, it's so good. It's so good.
That whole I remember when he had the show, the album release show.
That was one of the best shows I've ever seen. One of the best shows I've ever seen for sure. So yeah, recording with Kyle has always been a real treat. He did an EP for me back in we released it in 2012. We started it a couple years prior.
To Paint a Picture.
Yeah, a little 5-song guy.
It's on Spotify, by the way.
It's on Spotify, and I'm still proud of it. I do love those songs. There's
Sugary Sweet.
That guitar lick, man, that was like peak guitar for me at the time. I was like, that's the best thing I ever played on guitar. Harmonizing it and everything was a real sweet lick. Proud of that. But it's funny to look back on. I think the reason I'm always a little like, I love that EP, but it's because the one track is just heavily like a Christian track. I wrote a very evangelical track or something, and so we have this like weirdness with that. But I've got plans for that one too, and we're not going to get into that tonight.
No, that's a whole nother
thing. Yeah. But yeah, so making an album. I haven't been gigging too much, but the Kickstarter and the record, that's gonna, when that really gets close, there's gonna be a lot of momentum there, and we're gonna do some cool things. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So what are you working on these days? You got a couple of side hustle gigs.
Yeah.
Bands.
Well, mostly I'm a stay-at-home dad, so that takes most of my day. That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kids are cute.
Thank you. He helped put them to bed.
I did. Yeah.
So, I mean, my favorite thing right now is the stuff we're doing, which hopefully by the time this podcast goes live, at least one of the songs will be out, so you can check that out. Probably going to be called Downtown. That song will probably be out. I'm really excited about that stuff, but otherwise I'm mostly just playing cover bands right now. I play in a band called Moondogs. We do a lot of 60s and 70s, 80s kind of rock, pop, dance stuff. And then I play in a jazz duo called The Turnarounds with a singer, Jamie Cavalier. We do a lot of wineries and brunch gigs, and that's a ton of fun. That's something I never thought I was going to be able to do. Jazz duo?
Jazz duo.
You kidding me? Playing with just a singer?
Right, coming from, you know,
punk rock
in the school auditorium.
Yeah.
To playing jazz guitar for a singer, to back up a singer is pretty.
And that I think came mostly from the way I came into music, which was a love of the guitar, where I feel like the natural progression of learning guitar is kind of learning more and more complex music, and jazz kind of became that like thing that like I'll never be able to do that, but it's so nice. And
I feel the same way. I'm like, I think even about just like fretting the chords.
You could
and I'm
sing
like,
jazz. That would be so great. We should do jazz gigs. But so I had to get real.
That's not a bad idea, Steve.
Hold up.
It's not a bad idea.
We'll pick some tunes, man.
Yeah, well, send me some stuff. I gotta get learning and singing.
So yeah, I never thought I would do jazz gigs, and I had a really good friend named Albert. I met him probably around 2010 or so, and he died in a car accident in 2014. And he was really into jazz. He had a degree in jazz guitar performance. Fantastic guitar player, wonderful singer. And he started kind of showing me jazz and kind of helped unravel the concepts behind it and taught me to just listen to it instead of trying to think about it. And when he died, it was kind of like I felt like I needed to give this music a chance, and I just put on Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, which had Freddie Freeloader, which was a song that he showed me, and it all kind of just started making sense. I just sat down and I just listened instead of thinking, because I was kind of approached it like, well, I don't get it. Where you just need to sit down and listen, and if you like what it sounds like, just listen. It'll tell you what it is about. So, that's good. So it was kind of from that point where I started to get into jazz, and I checked out Chet Baker and more Miles Davis and Kenny Burrell and Sonny Rollins. And funny enough, I started studying with the guy that taught Albert, his teacher from the college he went to. So I took lessons with him for about 2 years, and it helped me just learn basically the fundamentals of playing jazz, and it brought me to a point where I'm able to play jazz gigs, which is something I never thought I would be able to do. And I think that's a testament to where if there's something that you like, even if you think you can't do it, just start,
start where you are.
Start where you are, because everyone's somewhere, man.
We're gonna start getting heady real quick, real quick. And it's funny because so I have something I want to say about all of that you just said, but as far as the start where you are, it's like, man, you started with taking your dad's guitar to the case. And I started learning on my dad's guitar. I remember the first time I tried to learn a song. There's this song called Awesome God, and big E major kind of tune, and just the big EAD. Yeah. A lot of people start with like Back in Black, and I was rocking Awesome God.
Highway to Hell.
Around the
Awesome to God.
around the campfire with my dad's like church chords.
Do you still know it? You still know how to play it?
No. I'm lying to you, but no. But what I want to say about all of that you were saying with like Albert and Kind of Blue, I could tell. Like you and Albert had a serious connection, and you and I weren't really hanging out too much in that time.
No.
But I could tell from afar via social media and stuff that, after he passed, I learned just how much he meant to you. It was after that, but I could see it then, and Kind of Blue was a big part of the discussion at your wedding.
Yeah.
And I never had listened to that album and until you and Leah got married, and you know, it was talked about at your wedding, which I think that guy did a really good job, by the way. He did a really good job.
So I should say, before my wedding, I met with the pastor, and we got to talking about me being a musician, and he asked what my favorite album was, and I mentioned Kind of Blue. And so the homily at my wedding, he basically talked about Kind of Blue and how marriage is basically improvisation, which is the genesis of jazz, which is, you know, the basis of jazz.
Heart, yeah.
So he drew this really beautiful parallel, and it was this wonderful speech, and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and it got me. It got me, and it got me to listen to the album, nice. And it's the one.
It's so good.
If I need that dose of jazz,
yeah,
that's the one.
And it's a cliche. It's like the jazz album. It's super popular, but for a reason. It's
perfect.
It's perfect. It's so beautiful. And I heard a friend of mine say, it's not a good album for songs. It's a good album for solos. Like the songs are kind of like, they're not really
simply
songs.
formatted. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's true.
They were just notes on a piece of paper for the most part.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I don't think that takes away from the beauty of the whole thing. It as a whole is just perfect. From the first cymbal hit in So What, with that sizzle when the horns come in, to Blue and Green and flamenco sketches. It's just a wonderful album.
So good. And it's just some of the best players just like,
not
even messing around, just like finding their way.
Yeah.
You know, finding their way through making an album.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And I think that that bled through into, so the last big gig that I had, Steve joined me on guitar. And I think we kind of accidentally landed on Let's Do It Like That.
Yeah, almost.
Because I knew that about you, and that was new for me. But we were kind of like, let's be loose with it. Let's feel this out. Let's not put too much pressure on the rehearsal. Let's not
because we did rehearse
worry much. We did. We rehearsed it 2-3 times.
But there was like
the set.
We kind of got to the point in each rehearsal where it was like, so what do we want to do in this part of the song and da 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 da. But then we both kind of were like,
you know what?
I don't want to know.
Let's feel it out. And oh man, I think it worked.
Yeah.
I think it really worked. But yeah, that's cool. And here we are with the fact that music and life are just not separate whatsoever.
Yeah.
I know things about you that you never had to tell me because I know the music that you like that means something to you, and vice versa. Yeah. That's really cool.
And I think that is kind of my way of communicating with people. Like, you grew up playing music with a message around a camp, the Kumbaya thing.
Right. And even some of the early metal stuff was still very message oriented.
Yeah. For me, it was mostly about the guitar, and I'm finding my way of communicating with an audience is that improvisation, is putting myself in a situation where I don't know what's going to happen, like this right now.
And neither does the audience.
That's right. And you bring them along with you. It's not a prepackaged thing. You go, you find a way to bring them in, and you just bring them along for the ride, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know? And
very cool.
I think that's kind of become my way of storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh! Do we want to jump into the What's Your Song segment? Do you want to flex with it?
We need a theme song for What's Your Song?
So it's going to be like a big band jazz kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
and what's your song?
And everyone's going to go like this.
Yeah.
So we have this idea for a segment called What's Your Song?
So we basically pick a topic, thought, idea, question, and we have to answer it with a song.
Mm-hmm. And the first thing we came up with, you texted me the other day, was the concept of music as a universal language, and picking a song that kind of really speaks to that for us. Mm-hmm. So
if I can, the reason I kind of had that idea is a little rabbit trail story. Mm-hmm. But when I was on vacation, we were on a plane, and they had like little TV screens in the back of the headrest, so you could like pick a movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, all right, well, let me just find a movie to watch. And I found this like comedy called The Upside, and it's Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. They're basically from completely different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Bryan Cranston's this, like, rich white dude living in this cool place.
Dad from Malcolm in the Middle?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Heisenberg from Breaking
Heisenberg.
Bad and all of that. And then Kevin Hart, obviously, just being his hilarious self.
Mm-hmm.
But he was basically, he's out on parole and he has to get a job, and somehow miraculously lands this gig taking care of Bryan Cranston's character because he's paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got to be like a in-home, live-in caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, that's the oddest pairing on the planet Earth. But Bryan Cranston's character is really into opera. Kevin Hart can't handle it. He's like, why are you listening to all this shit really loud all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the movie, obviously there's a lot of nice heartfelt stuff. There's plenty of dark stuff. There's plenty of funny stuff. But by the end of the movie, I don't want to give too much away, but the music moment, you know, at one point Kevin Hart's like, why are you listening to all this stuff? Like, you should be listening to the Queen. You should be listening to Aretha Franklin. And then later in the movie, Bryan Cranston's character, he's like, you know, one time Aretha stepped in for Pavarotti. And he clicks play. That's how I heard the song. I heard it in the movie,
wow.
And it shook me. And then I sought out the performance. So if you go on YouTube and you look up Nessun Dorma, Aretha Franklin, you're going to find that Sting is introducing Aretha Franklin, saying Luciano Pavarotti is sick, he can't do this, but his friend Aretha's going to jump in and do it. And so here we are with, like, one of the most famous opera songs ever.
Yeah.
And one of the last people you'd ever expect to sing an opera song at least 60% in Italian, and here comes Aretha Franklin. And this performance bends me in half and makes me cry every single time. Because, and it's what got me starting thinking about this universal language idea, because I'm like, I'm listening to this and most of it's in Italian. I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of it's the notes and the melodies, part of it's her energy.
Mm-hmm. Dynamics.
The dynamics. It's huge. It flows and it's just incredible. But it got me thinking. I was like, this has to get to just about everyone, or at least some song somewhere has to get to just about everyone.
Yeah.
Music. It says what we don't know how to say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've since looked up the lyrics, and it's probably the most romantic song I've ever read and heard. But I was just like, this is crazy, and I didn't expect it to get such a reaction out of me, and it just took me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I watch it and I'm like, cue the waterworks, because it's that good and it's that powerful. But the thing that made me ponder, like, wow, what a universal language music can be, because
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what she's saying,
Yeah.
but I feel every second of it.
You don't speak Italian.
No.
Not
A
like-
boppity boopy.
About-
As close as I get.
There goes our Italian fan base.
Yeah, we
That's funny.
like I said, we're gonna learn some do's and don'ts tonight.
That's right. So enough even for you to text me that song at like 2 a.m.
Yeah. Well, because I watched it again and I was like, he'll get it.
Yeah, because I'm usually up, and I got it, man. It
Mm-hmm.
was. Well, you texted it to me. I think I checked it out the next day.
You did. You watched it the next morning.
Yeah. I was downstairs
texted me
drinking
in the morning.
coffee before the kids woke up, and I put it on and was just kind of like, all right, I know Aretha, I know what I'm
Yeah.
in for,
And
and
I
I
had
didn't
no
know what I
idea.
was in for.
That's what's so funny too, is like, that's what's so great about that moment in the movie, is because like Bryan Cranston's character puts this song on. I think they're in a car, and he puts this song on, and he says like Aretha filled in for Luciano one time, and he's like, and Kevin hears her voice, and he's like, that's Aretha, and then it just goes.
Yeah.
And it's like, he had the same moment as everybody else.
Yeah,
Of just
yeah.
being like, how could this possibly
It's like,
happen?
here's what you thought Aretha was,
Mhm.
and she's so much more.
She's everything. She's
Yeah.
a queen.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is like, thank you, because I wouldn't give anything about this song. I wouldn't care,
Yeah.
you know? And now I'm
Sure.
like, this might just be one of the best songs
Yeah.
ever written. It might be.
Yeah.
As a romantic song, it's tops. As a composition, it's beautiful. Powerful.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So that's where it got me on that idea. So
It's So that's your song.
That's my song. What's your song, bro?
My song is a song called "My Foolish Heart," as performed by the Eddie Higgins Trio, I believe it is, off the album of the same name, I think. I heard it on the radio, oddly enough, which is...
Thank you, radio.
Thank you, NPR.
Very nice.
88.1 WDIY.
W do it yourself.
Lehigh Valley's premier NPR station.
Nice.
Wonderful. I was driving around late at night one night, as I often do, and this piano came on the radio, and it just grabbed me right away. The way it was recorded just drew me, and it was so intimate. And so I kept driving, and I listened to the whole thing, and it just... I hadn't heard the song before, "My Foolish Heart." It's a standard jazz tune. A lot of people have done it. But particularly with this song, the piano is so perfect, and the saxophone, Scott Hamilton plays saxophone on that. And you listened to it earlier, it's so breathy.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
You hear all of the air moving, and it's so intimate.
That's the word for it, too. It really is like...
So intimate.
If you let yourself be with the music, you can just be right there. You're right there in the same room.
Have headphones on and just close your eyes and you're there. You can see them playing. Mm-hmm. And the introduction's beautiful. The saxophone solo is unbelievable. Scott Hamilton is amazing. But then the piano solo starts, and that's when, for me, when the magic happens. Is I feel like the entire song builds up to around 3.5 minutes in the song. There's this note that Eddie hits that's like up here. You can't see me in the podcast, but it's up here.
It's up there.
And the whole song feels like it builds up to this note, and then he dances around it, and then the rest of the song falls down. And there's no lyrics in the song, so you don't have to deal with that. But I feel like the emotion is just so prevalent, and if you sit down and listen, it just brings you with it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to distract you. And I've, like I said to you before, I've mostly listened to instrumental music most of my life, mostly guitar-based instrumental music. But I feel like, for me, the instrumental music is just a quicker medium for transmitting the emotions. And this song is, to me, a perfect example of that, of using music as a language.
Yeah. I love the way you describe, like, I think that just having only heard the song one time, the song does peak at that note.
It does.
And he dances around it.
And
he dances around it in such a way to say, like, I love this. Like, I love where we're at right now. Yeah. Let's live here for just a moment.
Let's soak it in.
Put our gratitude on it, and then we'll just slowly walk away.
And it'll bring the whole thing home.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of the song is going home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you went on vacation. The whole song
it peaks and then
is your trip on vacation to Niagara Falls. And that note is the fall. You just got there. And you're looking at the falls, and it's beautiful. And then you go home.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And that's the whole trip.
It's a stunning example.
What, 4 minutes?
4 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not much for a trip to Canada.
Yeah, that's the fastest trip to Canada ever.
So that's my song for music as a universal language. And I don't know that I think that music is a universal language. We were talking about this earlier today.
Yeah, it's debatable for sure.
Yeah. Because I think for our culture, like you were saying, major tonalities is happy, and minor tonalities is generally sad.
Slow is sad, and fast is happy.
Yeah, but in another culture, you might hear just a drone with just minor melodies over top, but that, like you said, could be just a celebratory song in that culture.
Right.
And I don't know that it really translates the same message across cultures.
It may not speak the same culturally, but I think that everyone can get something from a piece of music.
Yeah.
There's always something to grasp.
Yeah.
Even, you don't have to like it.
That's very true. As a person who plays in a lot of cover bands.
Like, it's like, just as with language, it's like, if you say something to me that I don't like,
mm-hmm.
I don't have to like it.
Yeah.
But I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood it.
And you can
for what it was.
And you can appreciate perhaps my position in expressing.
Right, I can see your perspective, even if I don't agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a super important part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, as a person who plays in a lot of cover bands, there's a lot of songs that play that, like, I wouldn't have decided to play that song, but if you sit and listen to any piece of music, I'm sure you can find something in it that moves you. Whether it's the drum groove or the bass line or the chord change or the vocal melody or even just the texture of the recording, the way it was recorded. I think there's a lot to be said about just learning to absorb music as a whole and give every piece of music a chance instead of just, dismissing.
That's not my thing. I don't like hearing that about music. That's not my thing.
Oh.
No, that's what
I thought you were saying that's not your thing. Like, giving music a chance is not.
No, that's what I'm saying. I was acting as the person who's not giving it a chance.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, I don't really like that kind
and like
of
classical music that we were saying before, like that song that Aretha sang, might not have checked out that song beforehand.
Yeah.
But you'd be damned if I didn't look up videos of other people singing that song because I wanted to hear other examples of it after hearing Aretha do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously Pavarotti kills it. He does a tremendous job. Like that guy, I watched the same song done by him, and he's crazy. He like kind of just stands there and just blows the world out with an immense voice.
The power behind his
crazy.
Voice is just...
And that's just a completely different way of singing. I can't
it feels like you just open up the whole area.
You do.
Like everything's out of the way.
Yeah. I've got a friend who sings opera, and some of the things that she says that have actually really impacted how I've sung, but some of the other things I'm just like, what? Like, she talked about just like taking in like all the breath you can to the point where you think you're going to pop, and you're just using it all. To the point where she's like literally like pushing on her diaphragm to get the note to stay.
It out.
And I'm like, what?
Well, I took vocal lessons with a classically trained singer. It doesn't show.
Well, you used to not sing for anyone, and
That's
you sang
true.
for me tonight, so I can see it.
Yeah. So, and she would ask me, now when you hear this note, where do you feel it? You know? Like if I sing, I feel that kind of like right here. That's where I feel the vibration.
Right.
So like when if I wanted to sing that note again, I kind of focus on right there. And that concept is so abstract and so alien to somebody who grew up playing a physical instrument where you put your
notes
finger
come out of my fingers
there and that note happens. And when she said it, I had no idea what she was talking about. But now when I think about it, it feels like the focus of the vibration is in this certain area of your face mostly.
Well, because there's your bones are sympathetic to the sounds you're making.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And then when you sing deep, you can really feel it in your chest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's right down here.
Yeah. So it's a matter of tuning into that concept that sounds abstract and silly, but just giving it a chance, and especially coming from somebody who's trained classically to sing in operas, I think she knows what she's doing. I think she knows what she's talking about. So
I think you might be right.
It feels a little silly to do these kind of things, but you kind of just lean into it and trust the process.
Yeah. I think that is going to pretty much wrap it up for us tonight. We're going to look back at this and figure out our do's and don'ts. Thanks for the intro.
I think you've gotten to know us pretty well.
Yeah, we like to talk. That's kind of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We think we have decent things to talk about. Might be able to shed some light on things that you haven't thought about before, or throw our own perspectives out in the wind and see where they land. So
and get the conversation going two ways.
Right.
We're always down to hear.
What do you think?
Perspectives from other people.
Yeah.
And like we said, our plan is to have other people in to do interviews to hopefully get you to know about some musicians that you might not know about already. And You know.
And I'd love to hear what if people have like the what's your song bit. I think it'd be really interactive. I think that if you want to throw songs at us that made you recognize the idea of music as a universal language, we would totally soak that up.
Yeah.
And even just like, if you have a what's your song idea, ask us what our song is for what theme or question, and we'd love to dig deep and figure it out.
Yeah. I got to show off the Vega. That was cool. Actually,
yeah, right. I think it's badass that you were able to say, actually,
here's
my dad's guitar is on my wall.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you that.
Very cool guitar.
Sorry
if CF Martin if I threw them the bus there, but with that.
Well, they own them now, right?
Yeah.
So it don't matter.
And that's the thing. I don't really know who came up with it first, but I just know that this is Vega, and then Martin came out with something just like this. So.
That's an interesting storyline.
Yeah.
Vega to Martin, Vega to Vega
and then I
strings.
worked at Martin, which is like really makes it super interesting that like I started on this guitar and then worked.
Yeah,
at
that's
Martin.
some crazy cosmic shit.
Yeah, and I actually took tours to Martin when I was in high school in the guitar club.
Nice.
They would do a tour to the Martin factory.
I did the tour on my bachelor weekend. We were on our way.
Really?
Yeah, we were on our way
that's
to a
right,
campground and we hit it on the way.
Because Chimney texted me
Mm-hmm.
something about pulled in the Nazareth.
Oh yeah.
Was feeling about
Oh,
a half past dead.
dead.
I just need a place where I can lay my head.
Yeah, we could keep going, but we won't.
He texted me that.
That's
funny.
great. He's such a sucker for that kind of music.
I love that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
It's so good. That Americana.
He loves that stuff, like he loves
like
it.
the Dickens.
The Dickens, yeah. You know what? We drove around with Cripple Creek on repeat.
I love
for about 10 plays.
Or the night that drove all Dixie down.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite tunes. I like to sing and play that one. That's a good one.
Nice.
But yeah, so I took a tour of the Martin factory in Nazareth. I guess they don't know where we live, but it's a little bit away from Nazareth. It's still in Pennsylvania. But we took a tour to the Martin factory when I was in high school in, I think, freshman year in the guitar club. And then in 10th grade, was that junior? You didn't go to high school.
I didn't even go to school, man.
Oh, junior, sophomore year is 10th grade, I think. Or junior. I think it's sophomore.
I think it's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. So, sophomore year...
I just had numbers. 8, 9, 10, 11.
Still in guitar club, but I had already gone to the trip, so I wasn't supposed to do it, but I snuck on the bus and went anyway.
Oh, good guy.
And then in 11th grade, guess what I did?
You snuck on the bus?
Snuck on the bus and went anyway. And then, 4 years after high school, wouldn't you know it, I ended up working at the Martin factory.
That's
and
fantastic.
living across the street from it, which is kind of interesting.
That's where we started our project.
At that apartment.
At that apartment,
That's right. A couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't like thinking about it in years. I don't like thinking about it in years.
We started this stuff years ago. We started this because of Leon Bridges.
We did.
He texted
and
me that song.
That Good Thing album. That was cool, too, because the thing that made me send you that was, like... Because Leon's first album was very much like a Sam Cooke style.
Yeah.
Like, let's do some sort of rootsy, soulful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very... just produced to sound like the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then this record, he went modern with it, but kept the vibe.
Yeah.
But he included other stylings, and I felt that song was very jazzy, while still having sort of like a pop, pace to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, he's a tremendous singer.
Yeah. And that solo at the end, I think, is something you had mentioned.
Yeah. There's a part in it that sounds like Aliens.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Amazing.
That's exactly what you said in the text.
Yep.
And I think that's,
It's some sort of like string skipping arpeggio thing. It's like...
I keep meaning to transcribe it to play it for you.
And I'm just like...
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. G-A-W-D, my God. Yep.
But yeah, that's kind of how we started with the project. Was like, well, let's go with... Because we were both huge Otis Redding fans.
Oh yeah, we wanted to play with that vibe.
Yeah, we were like, let's do something. And that's... One of the songs came out in that vein. I don't really want to give them away. But,
Right.
The one song definitely came out in that vibe, but after that, it was kind of just.
I think what had happened was
You see
is that I feel like we knew we could do it. I feel like we knew that stuff was in us, and we never really tapped into it.
Yeah.
Like we had this little pot on the back of the stove that we just hadn't paid much attention to, and then we like took the lid off, and we were like, oh, that smells really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the back burner.
Smells good enough to eat.
Name.
You know, let's dig in.
Back burners.
Oh, that's good.
There it is. The back burners.
The back burners. I like it. Drips. Cheers.
Look for the back burners on Spotify and iTunes and all the places you
Yeah,
search.
the back burners are about to go down.
That's good.
That's good. I like the back burners. I like it. We keep our project on the back burner.
Yeah, man, that's nice. Anyway, so
Oh, and it's recorded, so we won't have to worry about it. We'll
Yeah.
remember it. Don't you dare edit that out. I'll kill you.
I'll murderize you. So anyway, you knew we could pull this off.
Yeah.
You mean like we could pull off the Otis thing? So we.
Well, no, I just think that I think we both knew it was in us. We knew that this vibe was something that we cared about, and enjoyed to the extent that we knew we could pull it out of us creatively. But even with that, I've still been surprised throughout this whole process. As far as I feel like we've both done some personal and musicianal, is that a word? Development. In this kind of collaboration, because I know for me the biggest thing is that it's been a decade since I've written a song that wasn't mine, about me, or coming from whatever I'm dealing with personally. To just get outside of myself and simply use the creative mind to come up with something that fits a piece of music has been extraordinary for me.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, and it's a completely different catharsis and creativity, and I really like what we've done.
It's definitely getting picked up.
Oh, for sure. Oh my god.
Oh my god, there's some pee-pee. Oh, man.
And the rain keeps coming and it won't stop coming.
I hit the ground running.
Oh man, that's a funny one. We're gonna have to.
But I agree. I think I was never one for really writing songs. These songs really came from just me experimenting with recording, and just kind of recording just short little ideas.
Yeah, I think most of your recordings were in the 1.5 to 2 minute range.
Yeah, it was basically the verse progression and maybe the chorus progression.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just noodle over them. It wasn't really written with the intention of being a song, but I think I just showed them to you, and Downtown might have been the first one.
I think Downtown was the first one we did.
Where it was just kind of that's such a good groove, and we kind of approached it what does that make you feel?
Yeah, what does it make
this
you song
think
is a
of?
setup. What's it setting up?
Yeah, what scene is this?
And that's something I'd never done before.
Me neither.
To have that discussion about a song.
And to be open like that. To
be like, what is in your mind's eye when you hear this?
Yeah, this is making me feel this way. It just happened to be about a girl.
Yeah, it felt like a trip downtown.
Yeah,
see something you like.
Seeing a girl and just rolling with the creative process unjudgmentally.
Yeah, completely. There was
no
such a freedom.
Yeah, it was well, I feel this way, or what do you feel about this line, or these lyrics, where if I had written them, or if you had written them on paper and then gone to show him something, there might have been a hesitation, but it was kind of just all out on the table, I feel this way, and it's
all the chips were out. We had different pieces, and we determined where they would fit together, and straight up crafted songs.
And it just unfolded.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything I've recorded that I've been this proud of. Like,
it's really exciting stuff.
yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Good. Yeah. I'm really excited to put it out.
It's such a good energy, and I feel so positively about it.
And that's the thing. It's moody, but it's positive.
But it don't hurt.
It don't. It hurts so good.
Yeah, well, so like, I'm the guy who goes out on stage and makes people's moms cry.
Yeah.
Like, and that's great. There's a place for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a freedom in not feeling like you're. I don't know. It's just a different vein.
Yeah.
It's just a different vein, and we're hitting it. And it feels really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It definitely feels good. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Downtown out. Then we got 4 or 5 more that we gotta just brush up a little bit, and we're gonna put out. And
yeah, and hopefully it just keeps rolling into some more moments and maybe some live stuff, and that'd be awesome. Live would be awesome.
And Mock Chunk Opera House.
The full picture is very big, but it's a step-by-step thing, and first things first, we'd love for people to hear it. Yeah,
first step.
We gotta get people to hear it.
That's the thing, and that's what I mentioned in my vlog on my YouTube channel. Just saying, is
how can they get there?
They can go to search YouTube Steve Iden Collins, Stevein Collins.
There you go.
And they'll check out my vlog, where I talk about, we've had these songs for about 2 years now, and they've just been hanging out waiting for the opportunity to get into a real studio, when really we've both been happy with them as they are.
I love listening to them.
I think we've gotten a pretty darn good sound.
Everybody who hears it,
they wouldn't have known that we just recorded it in my living room at the time. It was my dining room.
Dining room to basement.
Dining room to basement.
Yeah. Is that a promotion or a demotion? I'm not sure.
Depends with which if you're going XY, which way you're going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different addresses.
Different address, yeah.
Maybe it's me, man. I started my other record in a different address than the one we're currently going to finish it in.
That's what
maybe I make people move. I move people. Well, I don't help them on moving day, but I make them move.
No, you're damn right. You don't help on moving day. Where were you?
Damn right. You don't help on moving day. Boy, I don't have a truck. You see my scrawny legs?
Oh my God.
I can't lift a box. Oh goodness.
But yeah, so we're super happy with the songs, and we're tired of sitting on them, so we're gonna put them out.
And you can sit on them.
And you can sit on them. And listen to them.
Yeah, listen to them before you sit on them.
That's right.
You can't hear it if you're sitting on it.
And I think for the second time, I think that's gonna do it for our first podcast.
Yep.
I think we're going to wrap it up here. Hopefully the song Downtown will be out. We'll post links about it, hopefully in the description of this podcast and YouTube video, if we can figure out how to do that.
Work in progress.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
That's right. So thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.